Happy Saturday, everybody. Thought I would start a little earlier in my day today. And plus, I was inspired by a conversation with a friend this morning for our topic today. So, today I want to talk about it's a few things. First of all, it's taken me a long time to choose myself, to choose where I'm going to spend my time, who I'm going to spend my time with. Thinking back on some past relationships that I've had, I recognize that there were times when the person that I was with, whether they did it intentionally or not, kind of liked me better when I was having problems. So when I was having problems, they could help me. They could pick me up and they could be my hero. So they were much happier when I was not happy than when I was happy. And that's not a good sign. So we were kind of talking about how it started out as a conversation about marketing and about how some places, some people, some companies use marketing to pick at your weaknesses. Pick at our weaknesses, you should be, our fear of missing out, our not good enoughs. And they pick on those things to make us buy their products, sign up for their program, whatever it is. And unfortunately, it's not just marketers. Sometimes it's people in our lives who, for instance, in this one relationship, it was where my friends, there was always something wrong with my friends. And it got to the point where it was easier just to not to hang out with those people than it was to hear about the complaints about my friends. So then it got to a point where I really didn't have anyone to turn to except for the person that I was in the relationship with. And then when I was torn down, I don't have any friends, so it must be something wrong with me. So in that case, you're torn down by that person, you're isolated because you've given up all your friends, and then the only person that can help boost you up is that person who's done all the isolating and the tearing down. So it's a really bad space to be in. And so we were talking about that, and we were talking about how do you know if someone is right in your life? And what I said to my friend was, it's how they make you feel. So when you spend time with your friends or with your partner or with family members, when you leave that time that you spent, do you feel delighted? Do you feel joyful? Do you feel loved? Do you feel filled up in your heart? If you do, that's a great sign that that's a good relationship for you. If you leave that feeling, that interaction with that other person feeling weighted down, maybe weighted down with their issues or weighted down with the things they've said about you, filling you with self-doubt, maybe that's a relationship you might want to either put some boundaries on, limit the time that you spend with that person, or perhaps it's time to bid them adieu. There's an old phrase, and I apologize, I don't know who said it, but it's people come into your life for a reason, a season, or life. So sometimes a person comes in to teach us a lesson, to show us something about ourselves, to maybe give us a skill, or just to prop us up when we're at a low time in our lives. Like maybe you're in the hospital for something and this miracle nurse comes into your life and she's with you every day that you're there for that time that you're there, and then you never see her again. So she's there for a reason. Maybe someone is your friend while you're in elementary school or in high school or at a certain job, and then when you leave, just circumstances make it so that you never see them again. So that's kind of more of a season. And then there's people who are your friends, and I'm lucky enough to have a few of those where I could not see them just because of, life for months on end. And then when I see them, it's like we've never been apart, and we just pick up where we left off, and I feel that love and that connection, and you just feel good spending time with them. So when it is somebody who we are bound to by marriage or by family, then that's a place where we want to put in boundaries. And boundaries always sound more difficult and more scary than they need to be. Just because you're putting up a boundary, it doesn't mean that it has to be harsh. It can be as simple as, you know what, I really don't want to talk about that right now. Or, oh, we've talked about that for long enough, so maybe can we just table that for another time? Or let's talk about something more positive. So, and then if the person decides, well, then they're done talking to you, that's okay, because obviously if you felt the need to put up that boundary, you're probably done and at your limit for that conversation anyhow. And then sometimes it's just a matter of better communication about our feelings and about our understanding and how what's being said to us is making us feel. There's a course that I took when I was in the corporate world called Crucial Conversations. And it's a really cool way of responding to someone when you've heard something that they've said and it's made you feel bad, or we're making those assumptions, right? And you know what assume does, right? It makes an ass of you and me. But we've made an assumption about something that they've said. It's hurt our feelings, and oftentimes we'll just laugh it off, or we'll walk away and feel crappy for days on end, or double, triple, quadruple check what we said to bring that on, when actually we could just take a positive stance. So how Crucial Conversations works is like this. So someone says something and you've taken it in a not positive way. Either you're offended, your feelings are hurt, you feel like you've done something wrong or said something wrong. What we do is we approach it like this. When you said X, I felt this way. Was that your intention? And then wait for them to respond. Now, what that does is it doesn't say, you made me feel this, you hurt my feelings, and put all the responsibility on the other person. What it does is says, when you said this, I heard this. Is that what you meant? And I can give a real world example. So my husband Jared and I get along really well. And it's because we communicate and we don't let things build and we don't stuff it down and then one day the cork blows and everybody gets wet with an ucky sticky mess. We talk right away. So one day he came home from a particularly crappy day at work and just kind of was just like poke, 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 poke. And so finally I just said to him, so when you said that, it made me feel defensive and kind of feels like you're sort of spoiling for a fight. Is that your intention? And he said, oh my God, no, I'm so sorry. I'm just in a crap mood and this and this and this and this all happened. And I said, okay, well, why don't you go and take some time to yourself and I'll get supper ready. And then when you come back, we can start again. So instead of having a big boiler fight about it or misunderstanding or my feelings being hurt or it turning into something that it didn't need to turn into because it truly wasn't about us, we just talked about it. We identified the feelings. And then sometimes it's about clarifying understanding, right? When you said this, I heard that. Is that what you intended? And sometimes it's about feelings. When you said this, I felt this. Is that what you intended? And so it's not you made me feel or you did this, or it's not on them. It's like, here's what you said, here's what I heard, or here's what I felt, and then offering them an opportunity to clarify it. And truly, that is setting a boundary. It's setting a boundary for what's being said to you, and it's honoring your own feelings, your own responses, your own reactions in a healthy way. Now, if that person storms off, then that's on them. But typically, what happens is when you point out the cause and the effect that it had on you and allow them a chance to respond, if there's someone that you have a loving, respectful relationship with, they're going to back up the bus and go, wait, let me restate that, because that's not what I meant. I didn't mean to say that. I wasn't trying to say you looked fat in those jeans, something along those lines. So it is really, really important to honor our own feelings, and to choose ourselves. And so what I mean by that is when those situations happen, and what if the person actually did mean to hurt your feelings? What if they say, yeah, you do look fat in those jeans, or whatever it is, or you're not as good a cook as my mom, or something, I don't know. We have two choices, and we can choose to be silent, to smile, to laugh it off, and to be sweet about it, or we can choose to be free. And how we choose to be free is by approaching the situation. Notice I didn't say attacking the situation. Approaching the situation with honest and open communication. When you said that, I felt this. Is that what you intended? And then we wait for them to respond. And when they respond, we listen with an open heart. We listen with our gut. We hear the words, but we also feel the words. And then we can determine, where does that relationship sit? Is that relationship there for a reason, a season, or for life? And what boundaries do we need to set with that relationship? There's some folks where I know that there's only a certain amount of time that I can spend with them, and then they start treading down a familiar path, which is not a path that I want to travel with them. It might be about gossip. It might be just into a negative story. Often it's a negative story that I've heard far too many times, and they don't actually want assistance with that. They just want to tell their story. And that story makes me feel tired, makes me feel like I have the weight of their world on my shoulders when I leave. So, now what I'm doing is choosing to tell them how their story makes me feel, offer the suggestions, and then the next time, if that story comes up in that same way and I start feeling those feelings, I decide that, it's time for me to go and wash my hair, do my laundry, whatever it is, and walk away from that story. So choosing ourselves, choosing where we give our energy to, choosing who we're going to spend time with, choosing if the cost of that relationship is worth the price you pay when your interaction is over, is so important for our own mental and emotional well-being. And truly it's physical well-being as well, because some of those relationships simply exhaust us to the core. So you choose you, tune into your gut, tune into your heart, see what those feelings are, and you can start to listen to what your body is telling you. Our bodies are so much wiser than our brain. Our brain is really, it's prone to weigh the pros and cons. It's prone to listen to the peer pressure, all the shoulds, musts, what's a good girl gonna do, or whatever that is. So it's really, really a great idea to start tuning into your own body. Now, there's a super cool thing you can do to start using your own body's wisdom on your behalf. And it's a little bit difficult for me to show you this just the way I should have done our camera this way. But what you can do is get into standing mountain pose in yoga. So put your feet hip width apart, roll those shoulders back, have the hands face forward, and now ask your body, show me a yes. And you can close your eyes and just show me a yes and see what happens. Now my yes is a rock forward. So this This technique is called the human pendulum. And then show me a no, and my no is a rock backwards. I've seen people who their yes is frontwards, their no is sideways. I've seen yeses backwards, so not everybody's the same. But if you just do that and tune into what the wisdom of your body is telling you, then you can sort of use that for anything. One of my friends said, well, how do you know it's not just you giving the answers that you want? And I told her about one time I was teaching a class, and so I was looking for examples to use, and I was doing the fingers, which is a little bit different than the human pendulum with the rocking. And I asked the question, is avocado good for me? And I got a no. And I was like, what do you mean? And I asked it again, and I got no. I'm like, but I like avocado. So I wouldn't have made that up because I want that one to be a yes. Anyways, there's tools that you have inbred, maybe that's not inherent in your body that you can use for your yes and no. And you can use that with relationships as well. Is what they're telling me true? Yes or no? Is it true for me? Yes or no? How do I feel when I spend time with that person? Notice how your gut feels. Do you get a clench? Do you get a relax? Or do you get a neutral? And pay attention to that wisdom that is a gift that came with your human body. It's, it's a feature and you can use it. All right, well, I hope you enjoy your Saturday. I hope this information is beneficial to you. Hope I haven't talked to you for too long today. See what happens when I talk earlier in the day. I talk for longer, haha. Maybe you wish I'd come back at 10 again. Anyways, so let me know, does this information help you? Is it interesting? Is it useful? Were you already using that? Do you use the finger test? Show me a yes, show me a no. Again, that your yes and no might be different. What do you use? Do you use any tools at all? Do you use a pendulum, or do you just not use anything at all today? Let me know if you try these things and how they work for you. I'm always curious. All right, hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Enjoy the beautiful summer day out there. Hydrate, because it's going to be a hot one here if you're in Regina. If you're somewhere else, let me know how it is for you. All right, thank you very much. I love you. Have a great day, and I hope to hear from you soon.